little one. It is Brian S. Arnold here, and we are here with my new good friend John Feldman, and he says he's going to teach you how to build your authority and brand with a published book. Is that right, John?
Yes, yes, it is. And thank you for having me, Brian. Looking forward to a good conversation.
Well, absolutely. I'm sure. Hope we got something going great today. Here we go. Intro. Let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, feast your eyes and tune your ears. It's that time again. We are live with another episode of The Authority Project. It's the video podcast streamed on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope, where we talk to digital marketers, business coaches, and creators of all kinds on how they've built authority in their field and how you can mimic their success. Developing authority, building your audience, and attracting better clients to your own business. Now, without further ado, let's bring to the virtual stage your host, Brian S. Arnold.
And we're back with another one, folks. It is Brian S. Arnold here, and I'm excited to talk to John Feldman today, talking about building an authority and brand with your published book. How are you doing today, first of all, John?
Good, good. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
I am okay. I'm going through a whole bunch of different stuff right now. We were talking before the show. Technical difficulties, my eyes cracking up. I got something in my eye. What else? I'm not sure what's going on here, but
That's all right. We've made it here. That's
yeah,
the
we're made
important
it
part.
here. And we got some good content coming your way. I'm sure of that. I'm confident of that. So don't worry there. That's always going to be the case. So let's first of all talk to you, John. First of all, who is John Feldman? Tell us who you are personally and then professionally.
So personally, husband, father, solopreneur, busy bee. I don't like to sit still. I like to move and to try to um, just make things happen. I like to do one thing per day that kind of leads me to be better the next day, and that just has hopefully a cascading effect, so that one day I can create some real positive change and just help people.
Awesome. Awesome. Second question. What is your daily routine?
So daily routine: wake up, get the kids ready for school.
Yeah.
Once they're off to school and the house is quiet again, I sit down in front of my computer. I like to have the first few hours of my day as me time. So for me, those are the most productive hours of my day, and I like to make sure that I get as much done as possible without any distractions, any meetings, phone calls, and anything of that nature. So I get all my important stuff out of the way, and then after that, some meetings come in. I try to throw in maybe a workout in the middle of the day to keep healthy. Since I sit in front of my computer all day, I like to make sure that I'm a little bit physically active. After that, once the kids come home from school, another little chaotic period, and then I hop back on my computer later at night to prepare for the next day.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
Great stuff. Great stuff.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I love that routine. So let's get started. Let's dive in right now. So I guess my first question, maybe a lot of people, this is probably one of the bigger things, is people want to create a book,
Yeah,
but they they think initially that it's going to take a long time to do.
right.
And I think for if you talk to some authors, maybe they say, this took me a year to make or whatever, however, and people have that idea, it's going to take a long time to do. Is there a way to create book? Or and then there's the other side of that. It's like hey, you can create a book in a day, create a book in a weekend, and so
Right.
you have something that might seem like you did a lot of work on this, so you should be valuable. Then you do the weekend work is good, but maybe not have a lot of value. So here's the question in a nutshell here.
Uh-huh.
Summarize that rather. How do you create a book that you can do relatively fast but still have a ton of value?
Okay, so luckily, the traditional ghostwriting process is pretty antiquated. It is a lot of, especially with ghostwriting. So you are doing tons of Zoom calls. I mean, for some clients, I'm up to 40 or 50 hours of Zoom time calls to capture all the information, and then I go and I write that book for them or the manuscript. So it does take a while, right? The book in a weekend is kind of difficult, but we're our process at Visionary Literary is to use technology. So there are so many technological advancements. We were discussing one right before the show about formatting a book. Prior to that, when I first started writing about 15 years ago, I remember when ebooks first came out, the process to format a book to make it look appropriate on an e-reader. I mean, it would take me hours, days, and then you would send it through. You trial and error, and one little error would make you have to go back and redo the whole thing. It took forever. Now with software, Vellum, Calibre, Reedsy book editor, which I was telling you about, I mean, it's a matter of seconds. You upload your manuscript, everything's done for you. The same goes with actually writing, right? So dictation today, I mean, that wasn't available. Typically, you'd have to sit in front of a keyboard and you'd have to type out 40, 50, 60, 70,000 words. Now you can just speak them, right? You speak your book into, even Microsoft Word has that option. You speak directly into it, and then you worry about editing later, because regardless if you hammer away at a keyboard or if you just speak into your microphone, either way, you're going to have to do several edits. But the important part here is that there are so many options available to write a book quickly, efficiently, and like you said, just has a lot of value.
So that brings to my second question then. So the value part, I think, is so important. So how do you make your book attractive to your ideal client, your ideal audience?
So when you write, right, like you're just trying to information dump, right? You're the writer, you're the expert, and you're pouring everything out there. When you go back and you edit, you have to sit down and you have to think about your reader, right? So a lot of times the reader is the author. It's you 10 years prior, right? You're just writing things that you wish you had known 10, 20 years ago. And you have to just empathize with that reader and their, I don't want to necessarily say their education level, but kind of where they are in their career and their life. Speak to them, come at them as if they are just being introduced to this material for the very first time.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. So here's my question.
Okay.
And probably what you've gotten from a lot of people. Why is it so difficult to write a book?
Well, I mean, it is time consuming, right? And it is, if you want to add that value, like you can't, some people, and this is more true for fiction writers, but I mean, some people can just sit and start typing away and like thoughts come to them. But when it comes to nonfiction specifically, you need an outline, right? You have to outline, you need a structure. You have to come at the writing aspect from more of an educational component. Yes, you need to make it engaging because it's going to be long and you need to add stories, analogies, metaphors, but you also need to structure it in a way that is that's educational, right? So everything has to kind of be in order, make sense, and be clear.
Yeah.
So with that, there are just a lot of steps to it. And plus, like you mentioned earlier, the book in a weekend or book in a day, that process, I mean, you really want to edit, right? You want to edit, you want to have second, third, fourth eyes on it. You want to make sure that other people see that material before you send it out, because more often than not, they're going to catch things that will really make the book better.
Yeah. And I think people, when they see the edits, they just can't help themselves. You will get dinged by the reader, like, this is terribly grammatically, right? So
yeah,
you see that all the time.
it's better to be dinged by an editor, a single person who just litters your screen with red, than it is to have horrible reviews coming in on Amazon because you didn't take that extra step to make sure you edit.
Right. So let's get into the aspect of authority and brand. I've been doing an exercise where we wrote a book in a day, and it was, I did my little 3 points of value, but I didn't think it was, worthy to really put it out there. As people say, this is going to be there's this thing where you use your book as a business card.
Yeah.
So as opposed to reading a real book with some value content, what is your take on that, as using your book as a business card?
So for me and for our clients, right? A lot of it is that we work with business leaders, industry experts, course creators, people who have knowledge that others don't have, right? So something a good way to put it is, let's say you're on the highway, right? So our client is that business leader. They've been driving down the highway and they're at mile marker 100, right? But they know that there are people back at mile 3, 5, 10 that are struggling, and they want to write a book that just helps those people, right? So here's what you can expect all the way up until mile marker 100. There's going to be, the accident, this obstacle on the road, right? And it just helps people navigate around those things. So being somebody who has that level of knowledge, right? Like the internet is littered with people who claim to have knowledge, and some do and some don't. But through a book, you can really own in, and you can kind of prove your credibility and your authority. And when it comes to people who want to book speaking engagements, get on podcasts, have consulting gigs and coaching, like if you have that book, somebody can go and read it and just, it's proof that you are who you say you are.
So there's a key thing that you're saying there, and I want to be clear about this so people listening here. When you say that your clients are already experts, are already people who have something that they have to offer, do you advise against people who are just starting out? We don't have a lot of content. We don't have a lot of expertise to shy away from writing the book at first. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
So Brian, look, so you're talking about yourself, right? You're saying you put yourself in that category of people who might not be ready to publish a book.
Right.
Everyone has that, right? It's called imposter syndrome.
Yes.
But look, you personally, you've done 170 episodes of this show, right? Yeah. So somebody that wants to start a podcast who doesn't even know, which headphones do I need, right? Which streaming service do I use, right? These are things that you're at mile marker 100, they're at mile marker 5. You have that information that can help them, right? So in the future, obviously you don't know everything. I don't know everything. Every business person continues to learn and iterate their strategies, but you can write subsequent books down the road, right? So for now, you can have that book and just write for, again, the person who's just starting. You don't want to try to target everyone who has ever done a podcast episode. You want to target the person who is typing into Google, how do I start a podcast? That's your target audience.
I love that you say that, because I think a lot of people have that angst where they're like, well, I don't know enough. I know this, but they're not seeing their audience. They're not seeing that. They're seeing their audience as their peers or what they've seen on Facebook. Like, this person's not going to like this book, but that's not your audience. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that and made sure that. So is the audience always going to be like people who are beginners though?
Not necessarily. No. So if you were a client that I spoke with recently that we just started working on, he's writing a book about how to get your business from 8 figures to 9 figures, right? Wow. So his target audience is somebody who's running an 8-figure business. They're not in the beginning stages, but kind of what got you here won't get you there kicks in, right? So what got you to 8 figures will not get you to 9 figures. It's a different strategy. So it's not always beginners. It's just somebody who, again, is just a little bit behind you on that path to success.
Okay, great. So next line of questioning,
sure.
We're going to go with, I think in your arena where you have people who are watching this like, I'd love to have a book. I don't know how to write. I have some knowledge. I don't know what I'm doing. So they go to John, they go to your company. And what can you do for them? What is it that you do with visionaryliterary.com? I'll put that on there. I don't usually do this. That's something that it's just led into this, John. But anyway, I don't know how to write. So what can you do for us?
So when you go to Visionary Literary, our process is that we can help from idea all the way to publication and promotion. Our price tag is based on the fact that this is a marketing tool for business people. So it's not a price tag that is going to be for everyone. It's not going to be for people in the beginning stages, right? So right now our packages range from 14,000 to 26,000, and they go a little bit higher if you want hardcover and audiobook. But that being said, we do want everyone to be able to write a book. So we are actually our brand's book that's gonna is in the editor's hands now. We should have that out in about a month, which would be at the time that we're recording this. It's early December, so it should be out early January.
Nice.
It's called Your Book on Your Terms, and it's our entire process laid out. It is every piece of software that we use. It's everything we tell our clients. We're going to have links in there to access free materials to help you. So anybody who that price tag is a little bit too high but still want to write, all the information is going to be in there. And how specifically to write, that information is in there too. And it's basically Stephen King provides the greatest short little nugget, but he said just write as if somebody is reading and they know that they're reading, then it's bad writing, right? They have to just be lost in the fact that they feel like they're having a conversation with themselves or with you. So if it sounds like writing, it's bad writing.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that. So it's just a couple more questions and we'll wrap up here.
Sure. Yeah.
So you deal with ghostwriting, or you help them, or you help with the writing. How do you ensure that my voice comes out in the book from another writer? That's always something that people, well, some people don't care, probably don't care, but I think people, want to read a book and like, this is me talking. How do you do that?
Right. So we use, I was a ghostwriter for about a decade before I created, I founded Visionary Literary, but we use other ghostwriters, professionals, and it's just having conversation or listening to audio is good, right? So you just kind of listen, you listen for certain phrases, certain words, the tone in one's voice. So it's easy. And then, well, I say it's easy, but I've been doing it for a decade. But but we use transcription services which help to pull out, like I said, keywords, repetition, things like that. So we just want to make sure as a writer that we don't put our own voice into your story. So we help with the structure. We help with, chapter titles, things like that, anything that can really be beneficial. And then we just use your transcription, your words, your audio conversations, and just try to take that content and use it.
Awesome. Last two questions here.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about promoting your book so that it gets the buzz that it needs? How does that work? That seems like a long process too. You got your book, you have your book, you've written, it's great, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you can't get any traction with anybody.
Okay. All right. So do we have about an hour?
You got about 2 minutes.
So in the book that we're coming out with, Your Book on Your Terms, there is an entire part dedicated to this, which is the back, I'd say 20% of the book. And that barely just grazes the surface. So it all depends on your target audience, right? Who is your target audience? Where do they live? So for us, business associates, colleagues, people who want to read your book right there on LinkedIn. If you have somebody who, I don't know, it really depends on like social media platform. Do they go to conferences? There are so many different areas, but even something as simple as social media, right? Like it depends on what stage you're in. If you are 8 weeks out from publishing, then your social media strategy is completely different than it is on launch day, right? So there's so much there, but there are so many free resources. Again, social media, having a street team or a group of people that are just going out to conferences or events where your target audience lives, word of mouth. There's paid advertising on Amazon and Google. There are, like I said, if we had an hour, we could sit here and kind of walk through. But in the book that we're coming out with, we kind of put together a plan that starts with 6 to 8 weeks out and goes all the way up to launch day. So that should be beneficial. And then we'll also have access to a template that we use for our clients within that book as well.
Awesome. I love it. So last question, we'll wrap up here. ask of all of my guests, go something like this, that people who are watching now but listening later, and they want to do some of the same things that you're doing. They want to be, the next, ghostwriter company, whatever, that kind of thing. They want to have that whole thing. Can you tell them, and I'll put you in front and center one last time, how they can become an authority in this space?
So to become an authority in the nonfiction or ghostwriting space, one, you have to just have a little bit of experience, right? So if you are somebody who wants to be a ghostwriter, you can start with something like Upwork, promote yourself, advertise yourself, Twitter, just start reaching out and use hashtags. Try to draw in some early clients, right? When you draw in those early clients, you start to build your resume, build your portfolio. Then you can reach out to I guess, more authoritative places where you can freelance, right? And when you begin to freelance, you begin to pick up on some of the nuances of the industry and the business, and then you can branch out and you can be your own ghostwriter. But one main thing to do is just to make sure you have a niche audience. So don't try to go out and say, I write books for people, right? Who do you write books for? So for us, we write nonfiction books for business people, industry experts, right? That's who we are. So we don't stray outside of that. We know who we are. We excel in what we do. And that's one thing that I would highly advise.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Just amazing. Can you tell people where they can see you after the show, your company, what you do?
Yeah. So you can go to visionaryliterary.com, and we're there. You can also go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble as for the book, Your Book on Your Terms. Again, it's early December as we record this, so we're not ready yet, but we should be published in about a month. And then you can, if anyone has questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to me. It's John, John, at visionaryliterary.com. If you want to write a book, and if you are just questioning the process, if you have any, just anything to share, any kind of questions that can help propel you forward, I'm more than happy to answer and to kind of give you that boost.
Awesome stuff, people. Great stuff. I'm so glad you're here, because as I told people, that I just wrote a book and I'm about the marketing. So that's my story.
Well, everyone is like that with their marketing, which is why we try to help with that as well, because that's something, nobody likes to. It's tough to promote yourself, right? It just kind of feels
absolutely
a little vain, but it's totally normal. So
after the show, I'll
send you the template, Brian.
Awesome, great stuff. Everybody, we're wrapping up here. So as I say, remember, build it, share it, and they will come. We'll see you next time. We're out of here. Peace.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Authority Project. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, we want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and give an honest review. Share and tell your friends so they can hear too. And for even more authority-building tactics, be sure to sign up at theauthorityletter.com. Get free weekly content and ongoing digital product giveaways to help you on your entrepreneurial journey. We certainly hope you got a key takeaway, or maybe an aha moment from today's broadcast. Just remember, it's your authority. Build it, share it, and they will come. Until next time.